3D was one of the hottest topics yet again in Hollywood this year. There was way too much of it, and some people had to spend a fortune to see movies that really didn't need to be in 3D. What did you think of 3D this year, Jim?
Depends on whether you're talking, well, there was too much 3D, but it also depends on the quality of the 3D or the quality of the movie that's being shown in 3D. Like, I would say the worst 3D movie of the year is Shark Night 3D, almost. But it's partly the 3D isn't that bad.
Right.
The movie is.
Some movies you just go to for the 3D.
For the 3D.
Like that and Piranha from last year.
Those are gimmick 3D. I mean, what I loved about the Harry Potter movie is it just puts you in this other universe. And that's the kind of 3D I like. I don't like 3D that drops objects on me or has projectiles flying in my face or gobs of spit.
Right.
I prefer to just be transported into another universe. And that's what I love.
You didn't like the Egg Yolk and Harold and Kumar?
No, I didn't like any of the 3D in Harold and Kumar. The 3D in Harold and Kumar was abysmally.
I just like the subtlety of 3D, and I think it was used best in family films this year, like The Smurfs and Dolphin Tale. I thought it was just the subtlety 3D. But I thought the worst 3D had to be The Lion King 3D, which all they did with that movie is just convert it into 3D from a movie that's been out for nearly 20 years. It was just so blurry, and they didn't even use it for part of it.
Why would that be necessary? Why convert a movie that's been in 2D since its inception?
People have seen it. People have seen that movie 100 times probably over the last 20 years and on the Disney Channel. Why do you need to see it again?
It's an excuse to get it back in the theaters and jack the ticket prices back up.
They could do that by putting it on a big screen in 2D, which is
but not charge $14 a ticket.
Yes,
that's true.
I know.
That's true. I hated the 3D. I didn't mind Thor, but I hated the 3D in Thor. I felt as though I was watching stacks, like layers of 2D. It was such a terrible conversion. And what I wish, I don't mind films that are filmed in 3D, but when they're converted, unless it's a terrific conversion job, it's just awful.
Well, that brings you back to
Harry. Talk about gouging your eyes out with spoons. That's it makes me want to.
Harry Potter was post-converted, and yet Harry Potter looked better than a lot of movies that were shot in 3D. You look at something like Transformers: Dark of the Moon, where they were hyping it to the stars that this was made in 3D and this was going to blow the roof off. It was just standard Michael Bay. It was technically well executed. It was eye-filling. It was eye-popping. But the 3D, I didn't think added any excitement to it at all.
I tip my glasses sometimes with the movie, and sometimes you are able to watch the movie pretty well without needing the glasses. And when I see that's not a good job.
And you lower the glasses and it darkens the film too. That's my other problem with 3D, is that it darkens the look of almost every film. And I'll lift my glasses and say, I bet this scene doesn't need 3D, and I'll start watching it. It's like, oh, not only does it not need 3D, but I can see everything more clearly and it's brighter.
Well, you mentioned Thor, and in that regard, Thor, which was not shot in 3D, and it's a really lousy post-conversion. It's on par with Clash of the Titans. It also ruined some gorgeous daylight desert location photography that had been done. And actually, when I saw it on video some months later, I actually thought the movie looked better without the 3D. Two movies I wanted to...
I'm still not going to watch it again.
Two movies
I can't sit through Thor. I can't sit through Thor. I'm sorry. I can't sit through it.
I didn't mind it, but I'm not going to watch it again.
Two 3D movies that came out this past year that I think deserve special mention, though, because they were exploitation movies that knew they were exploitation movies and didn't try to be anything else and used 3D to throw things at the camera and do it well. Drive Angry, which was an unabashed B-horror movie.
People are saying Nicolas Cage's career is just going boom.
But let me tell you, cars crashing into the camera in 3D is fun.
I thought Cars 2, when cars crash into each other and were blown up like crazy, that seemed fun.
That's why people go to NASCAR races. No, I know, they go for other reasons. But it's always nice when there's an accident to get the crowd out.
And I would also have to say some nice stuff about Final Destination 5, which completely exploited the possibilities of gore-streaked, pointy implements of destruction that have just impaled somebody, pointing at the camera. They never miss a trick to do that in that movie.
But see, what you're talking about, though, is 3D as a gimmick.
Yes, absolutely.
But you see, good films take new technologies and apply them to the artistry.
You're going to get Avatar,
artistry
1 out of
is not
every
a word
100.
that is generally applied to Final Destination movies.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
You're not going to get Avatar every time.
Well, I didn't even like Avatar. Okay, don't even get me started on Avatar.
But the 3D was good in Avatar, right?
You know, I just wasn't blown away by much out of Avatar. When I am forced to sit through Avatar again, I cringe.
I think a lot of audiences have had it up to here with the immersive environment stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we've got Baz Luhrmann. If there is a Cretin from Mars award to be given to a director, I think it's got to go to him.
Wait,
and right now he is
from Mars?
Cretin from Mars.
That's a new phrase, everybody.
And Mr. Luhrmann is currently in Australia shooting a 3D remake of The Great Gatsby.
Right.
He is a Cretin from Mars, if that's what he's doing.
He is doing. I could not be making this up. Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio. Carey Mulligan.
He goes from J. Edgar to that. So.
And we're going to have an immersive 20s environment by the guy that gave you Moulin Rouge.
On the other hand, if it's done well, I'll be open to it.
The artist wasn't
from Mars or not.
The artist wasn't in 3D, and yet it's set in the 20s, and it worked perfectly.
In the 20s, sound and color were gimmicks, and what the artist did was give you the most gimmick-free movie. The biggest gimmick is total absence of gimmicks. This is going back to what a movie is a consecutive series of images, and that's the way the medium works. And this is going back and exploring what film is in the first place in a way that has not been done in decades.
It's pure visual storytelling, which is why I love going back and watching silent films. Because you watch something like Metropolis, the great Fritz Lang, and you realize that what he did in the 1920s, what those filmmakers did in the 1920s, was absolutely set our expectations for what experience we're going to have in a movie theater. And you're right. I mean, when sound came in, it was a gimmick. When color came in, it was a gimmick.
And 3D is completely a gimmick now, and most people may not remember the 3D in movies. And by the way, the Avengers, they have recently announced that they're going to convert it now into 3D when it opens in May.
Oh, dear.
Yes,
I thought months ago that they were going to do that.
That's what I'd assumed that, too, with all the other Marvels.
I mean, Captain America did not need the 3D, and although it was a better post-conversion than Thor, it didn't need it.
Right. No, it didn't, and I, in fact, had forgotten that it was in 3D until you mentioned that right now, so obviously it wasn't too memorable.
Yes. But the Avengers, I'm a little surprised they're going to, at this point, convert it with 5-6 months to go.
I don't think it's necessary. I think they've got to, just by putting that many superheroes in one movie and bringing back the Hulk, I think they have more than enough going for them.
Right.
The 3D will probably be a distraction, but I'll wait and see.
But people are going to flock to that just because of all the superheroes.
But The Dark Knight Rises, which Christopher Nolan's getting ready now, that's not in 3D. Christopher Nolan doesn't want to work in 3D.
Right. Dark
and
Knight
he has said that publicly.
Of all time, and it wasn't in 3D. Right. So, overall, not a great year yet again for 3D, but we'll see what happens in 2012. I'm still worried about the Avengers, though.